ما شاء الله بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. You've probably heard that the scholars say that what people need the most of nowadays is learning the religious knowledge. This is really what they need the most of, even though if you were to ask some people what they need, they might tell you money. Well, we're not saying that they might not need money. However, the really important need that they have is acquiring the religious knowledge. For if somebody died rich but was not a Muslim, this does not benefit him. Whereas if somebody died out of famine, out of hunger, but this person died having the proper belief, this person is a winner on the day of judgment. So really what matters is acquiring the religious knowledge as it was taught by the companions, the way they learned it from the Prophet ﷺ, acquiring the knowledge, applying the teachings of Islam, and also conveying it to others. So one does not only learn for himself, one learns for one's own self to apply, to fulfill the obligations, to refrain from committing the sins, definitely to make sure that one is following the religious rules of Islam, and we need to spread this valuable knowledge as well. We have reached page 29. We are talking about the meaning of the second testification of faith. And we said that we have to believe in the message of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, and in what he conveyed from Allah Ta'ala. And that the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam does not make any mistakes in that which he conveyed from Allah. Inshallah. Dear, so that I know your number, send me a text message later on, okay? If you're in the group, on the WhatsApp group, you would know my number, the admin, so you can text me. I remind you to have a sincere intention in your heart when listening to this lesson. So among the matters that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned is the qadar, that we have to believe in al-qadar, the predestination. That is to believe that everything that happens is by Allah predestining it, along with accepting his predestination and not objecting to Allah's predestining of good and evil, sweet and bitter. What does this mean? We said last time that all the attributes of Allah Ta'ala are attributes of perfection. None of the attributes of Allah change, and we do not say anything negative about any of the attributes of Allah. The attributes of Allah are eternal and everlasting, meaning they have no beginning and no end, and they do not change. So the predestination of Allah is a perfect attribute. We have to believe in that. As for the predestined thing, meaning the created thing, we're going to be talking here about a real important matter. So I remind you really to pay close attention now. When we're talking about the predestination of Allah, as in the attribute of Allah, this is a perfect attribute, as all of his attributes, and it does not change. However, the predestined, that what Allah predestined among the creations, meaning that created thing, among these creations, there are those that are good, and there are those things that Allah Ta'ala predestined that are bad. And we do not object to Allah for predestining the good, nor do we object to Allah for predestining the bad. We don't object to Allah. So if a person commits what is bad, we tell that person that they are not supposed to do that bad thing. But we do not object to Allah predestining this. Okay? I will repeat it one more time, inshallah, so that it is clear. So when we are talking about the attribute of Allah, the predestination, this is a perfect attribute of Allah. It does not change. It has no beginning and no end. And this, we do not object to it. So we do not object to Allah predestining what is good and what is bad. We don't. And among that, what is predestined, what is created, there are those things that are good and there are those things that are bad. If a person commits what is bad, they're not supposed to do that. So we tell that person not to do that bad thing. But we do not object to Allah predestining the good nor the evil. Okay? Allah Ta'ala owns us, and He does with what He owns whatever He wills. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. This is a verse in the Quran. It means that Allah Ta'ala is not questioned about that what He does. We are not to question Allah. He is our Lord. He is our Creator. He owns us. He owns us and that what we have. So we do not object to Allah. Allah Ta'ala commanded us with particular matters that we're obligated to do. So we should do them. And Allah Ta'ala forbade us from particular matters. So we should obey the orders of Allah and not do what Allah forbids us from doing. Okay? So if a person commits what is bad, we tell that person not to do that. For that person is commanded not to do the bad when this person is accountable. They should not do what is bad. All right? So let us read the statement again now together on page 29. It says, and we must believe in Al-Qadr, predestination, that is to believe that everything that happens is by Allah predestining it, along with accepting His predestination and not objecting to Allah's predestining of good and evil, sweet and bitter. We do not object to Allah predestining all of that, okay? Whether the destined, meaning the created thing here, whether the destined thing, the created thing is good or evil, it happens by the predestining of Allah, His creating and His will. This means everything that happens by the will of Allah and by the knowledge of Allah. Everything that comes into existence is by Allah creating it. Allah willed for it to occur. Allah created it, both what is good and what is bad. For Allah is the only creator. No one other than Allah brings anything from non-existence into existence. And this is among the fundamentals of the belief. وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. The verse means Allah created you and your doings, whether these doings that we do are good or bad, both are created by Allah. But we should not be doing the bad, okay? We have a will. We should not be doing the bad. And if a person does what is bad and he is accountable, he deserves the torture for that because he's accountable. He did this voluntarily. He did this out of his own will when he was not to do that. But if he did that, it means Allah willed for him to do that. So everything that happens by the will of Allah and by the knowledge of Allah. Allah knows about all things, everything that happened, everything that is happening. Nothing is hidden from the knowledge of Allah. Allah knows about things before they happen. So then, among the fundamentals of the Islamic belief is to believe firmly in one's heart that Allah Ta'ala predestined both the good and the bad. He willed for both to occur, the good and the bad. He is the creator of both. But we are ordered to do what is good, and we should avoid doing what is bad. Subhanallah, there are people nowadays who go against this fundamental belief, and they claim to be Muslims. That's why we repeat always not to take your knowledge from anybody who's telling you, come and I will teach you. You don't know who this person is. You make sure first that this person is trustworthy, acquire the knowledge from trustworthy people who are teaching that knowledge according to how the companions taught it, who acquired it from the Prophet ﷺ, without deviating from the path of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. For some people nowadays, when you ask them, how did you acquire your knowledge? They might tell you through social media on their own, from random people, inshallah. Or they might tell you by reading books on their own. And this is not how knowledge is acquired. Knowledge is acquired by learning it from trustworthy, knowledgeable people who have learned it from trustworthy, knowledgeable people until this chain goes back to the Prophet ﷺ, so that when they speak, they're not saying something that contradicts the basics of the belief. They're not saying what contradicts the Quran or the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ. So be careful, for nowadays there are people who claim to be Muslims, but they claim that what occurs, which is bad, they say that this is not by the creating of Allah. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. They're claiming that other than Allah creates. They're claiming that something comes into existence despite Allah not willing for that to happen. This is kufr. This is clearly against the Quran. Subhanallah. So then, what is the belief of Muslims? The belief of Muslims is that everything that happens, happens by the will of Allah, by the predestining of Allah, by the knowledge of Allah, by Allah creating that. Allah Ta'ala accepts that what is good and does not accept the evil. He created both, but he does not accept both. Okay? So be careful. He created both, but he does not accept both. He willed for both to happen, but he does not accept both. So when the person does the good, does a good deed with a sincere intention, properly, according to the rules of the religion, inshallah, this Muslim will be rewarded by Allah. And Allah Ta'ala, inshallah, accepts this from him. But if the person does the bad, this is not accepted by Allah. If it happens that Allah willed for it, but this is not what Allah accepts. So then there is a difference between the will of Allah and Allah accepting a matter. Okay? For again, Allah Ta'ala ordered us to do specific matters and He forbade us from doing specific matters. For sure, there is wisdom in that, for sure, whether we know the wisdom of that or not. Some matters, we know the wisdom of them, they're clear to us. And some matters, even if we don't know the wisdom behind this, we believe that there is wisdom behind that. That the woman who is accountable, the Muslim woman who is accountable, is obligated to cover in front of the male who is not mahram to her and who is not her husband, that she has to cover. Subhanallah, we might know the wisdom of that. This is clear, and such as fasting in Ramadan and other matters. The wisdom behind that might be clear to us. But regardless, whether we know the wisdom or not, we believe that there is wisdom behind this. And many matters, subhanallah, that the Islamic law forbade us from doing, also the wisdom is clear to many people, even to non-Muslims, Subhanallah, many people who are not Muslims, they see the danger of drinking alcohol and the consequences of that. They see that and they know that in Islam it is forbidden. Subhanallah. And other matters. They know the benefits of fasting in Ramadan for the body, how beneficial that is for the body, to the extent that many non-Muslims nowadays, they're advising with particular diets that they're claiming intermittent fasting. And they know, many of them, that in Islam, we fast in Ramadan. Subhanallah, yet despite that, many do not believe. Subhanallah. So we mentioned then the belief in the predestination, okay? Now we continue, inshallah, reading. It says, the good that Allah preordained, we love. And whatever is evil, we hate, meaning the created thing. The created thing. Among that is good and among that is evil. As for the attributes of Allah, all the attributes of Allah are attributes of perfection. Okay? It says, similar to what was previously mentioned, the belief in the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam also necessitates the belief that Muhammad alayhi salatu wasallam is the last of the prophets. There is no prophet after him, and none will abrogate his law. So there will not come another person who will receive revelation that he is now a prophet after Prophet Muhammad. No. And the law revealed to Prophet Muhammad, meaning the Sharia, revealed to Prophet Muhammad, it will not be abrogated. It will remain. And this does not contradict the fact that Prophet Isa alayhi salam, whom some people call Jesus, that he is still alive, for he came before Prophet Muhammad, okay? He came before Prophet Muhammad. And it is mentioned that he is still alive. He was risen to the sky, and before the day of judgment comes, Prophet Isa alayhi salam will come down to earth. He will rule with the laws revealed to Prophet Muhammad. All prophets are Muslims. All prophets came with the same religion, which is Islam. But some laws differed from one messenger to the other. And I will give an example, inshallah. So, for example, at the time of Prophet Adam alayhi salam, it was permissible for the son to marry his sister, meaning for the brother that is now, to marry his non-twin sister, his sister who was not born as a twin to him. This was permissible at the time of Prophet Adam alayhi salam. But of course, in the laws that are revealed to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, this is not allowed to do. Now, in the Sharia that we follow, it is not allowed for the brother to marry his sister, whether his twin sister or non-twin sister. It is not permissible. It would be unlawful to do. So some laws differed among the messengers, yet the belief was the same among all the prophets. All of them came with the same religion, which is Islam. Prophet Isa, who some call Jesus, is Muslim. He never said that he is the son of God. Never. He said that he is the slave of Allah, Abdullah. Okay? And he said that there will come another prophet after him, meaning Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So it says there is no prophet after him, meaning after Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, and none will abrogate his law. And that he is the best of all the children of Adam, for he is the best of the creations of Allah and the highest among them in rank. So Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam is the best of all creation of Allah. He is the best of all humans and the best of all creation of Allah. So for sure, we love him. We love all the prophets and we love him. And when Muslims celebrate his birth, this renews the love And inshallah, this teaches our children to love and honor this great man, this great leader, whom Allah Ta'ala sent as a mercy. He guided so many people. So for sure, we love this man, alayhi salatu wassalam. We honor him and we teach others about his traits and about his birth story. Okay? It says, moreover, it is obligatory to believe that every prophet of Allah must be attributed with truthfulness, trustworthiness, and intelligence. This is common among all the prophets. And there were many, many prophets, okay? Many of them. And many of them were killed, subhanallah, by the kuffar. So all of them came with the religion of Islam, and all prophets must be attributed with truthfulness, trustworthiness, and intelligence. All prophets are intelligent. It is impossible for them to be stupid, because stupidity, which is weakness of understanding, is incompatible with the office of prophethood, because Allah sent them to convey the message and establish proofs against stubborn unbelievers. They showed them proofs, so for sure they would not be stupid. Consequently, lying and dishonesty are imperfections incompatible with the office of prophethood. So, prophets never lie. Even before they received prophethood, they never lied. Okay, so be careful if somebody told you, but this means so and so. Know for sure that the meaning is not that a prophet lied. For sure not. Okay, what we are talking now are still matters pertaining to the meaning of the two testifications of faith. So this belief is among the fundamentals of the belief. There is no disagreement in that. There is no disagreement in that by all the Muslim scholars that all prophets are trustworthy, intelligent, honest, never lie. This is their attributes before prophethood and after. Okay? So they never lie. It says, hence, prophets do not lie, do not betray, nor deceive. So if somebody asks them for an advice, they are honest. They do not deceive people. They do not cheat people when they seek advice from them. And they do not unjustly consume people's money. They don't do that. Also, vileness is a defect impossible to be among the attributes of the prophets. What is vileness? It says vileness is characteristic of the degenerate people. The people who do not have high character. Okay? So vileness is characteristic of the degenerate people. There is no prophet who is vile, who sneaks lustful looks at marriageable women, for example. This is an example. This does not happen from prophets. Does not happen from them. And there is no prophet who steals, not even a single grape. This does not happen from any prophet. Not before prophethood, not after. It is impossible for them to be attributed with foolishness. That is, behaving unwisely. This does not happen from them. There is no prophet among them who says vulgar words that are repulsive by accepted standards of morality. It is impossible for them to be attributed with obtuseness. If you look on the footnote on the bottom, it says it means slow to understand. You know, this might happen among us who are not prophets, of course, that you might tell somebody something and you might need to repeat it one more time, a second time, maybe a third time, you know, for this person to understand it. But this is not the case with prophets. They are highly intelligent. There is no prophet who is obtuse, unable to establish proofs against those who oppose him, nor were any of the prophets slow in perception, that is, unable to grasp what they were addressed with from the first time, and thus needing it to be repeated for them several times. It is impossible for them to be attributed with cowardice. So they're all courageous. However, it says it is not impossible for them to have natural fear. It is impossible for prophets to commit a slip of the tongue in religious and non-religious matters. What is a slip of the tongue? Sometimes when a person is speaking, it might happen from us that we say a word that really we did not intend to say at all. We did not want to say that word at all, but it comes out. Subhanallah, involuntarily it comes out. Sometimes we notice it and we correct ourselves. And sometimes we might not notice it ourselves, and another person might tell us, you said so and so. And you say, really? I said this? I didn't even notice. So it might come out without you really intending to do that. This does not happen from prophets, neither in matters pertaining to the religion or matters other than related to the religious matters. This does not happen from prophets, okay? The slip of the tongue. It says all the deficient qualities mentioned previously and every other unbefitting and unprophetic quality that repels people from accepting the call from them are impossible to be among their attributes, such as repulsive ailments like worms coming out of the body. So now I'm going to mention some matters that are important about some of the prophets, which some people have fabricated about some prophets. They said them about prophets and they are not true. From what we have just mentioned about the attributes of the prophets, we know then that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam never worshipped idols, never. For prophets do not commit kufr, not before prophethood and not after. So Prophet Ibrahim was Muslim. He only worshipped Allah like all the prophets. He never worshipped idols or statues, okay? Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam never committed zina and never attempted even to commit zina, all right? Because these are some matters that some kuffar have fabricated about the prophets, and this is not true. So Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam never wanted to commit zina. So one should learn the proper interpretation of the verses of the Quran, and one should not explain the verses of the Quran on one's own. Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam, yes, he was sick for many, many years, and he was patient. He did not object to the will of Allah, for sure not. And it is not true what some people say that worms came out of his body. Absolutely not true. This is something that is repulsive, does not happen from prophets. Some people go even further and they claim that he used to tell the worms to go and eat from his flesh. What is that? Subhanallah. For sure that this did not happen. Yes, he was sick, alayhi salam, but worms did not come out of his body. And the scholars did not mention what kind of sickness he had, so we do not assume on our own. But for sure, worms did not come out of his body. Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, whom some people call Moses, he was a Muslim prophet like all of them, with beautiful traits, beautiful character, because some people also attribute to him things that do not befit to be attributed to prophets, okay? Such as being nervous or acting not properly. No, this does not happen from the prophets. All of them have beautiful traits. All of them do not commit kufr, neither before prophethood nor after. They do not commit enormous sins, neither before nor after prophethood. And Allah Ta'ala knows best.